Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of TealCast, which is going to be a sports podcast about UNCW. So let's first start off with baseball. Last week was the opening day weekend for the Seahawks. They played VCU, which is a very good team. They're projected to finish first in the A-10 conference. So how did the Seahawks match up against them? So Seahawks picked up right where they left off, ending last season with the walk-off win. Well, spoilers, there was another walk-off for their opening day game here. So what happened? Well, it was a scoreless game until the fourth inning where Tyler Locklear for VCU opened up with a home run. And it was an absolute moonshot to center field. Bottom of the fourth, Brandenburg doubles and scores Evans to tie it 1-1, and then later Pitara singles and scores Brandenburg for a Seahawk lead of 2-1. Fifth inning, no offense really. 1-2-3 inning for VCU, and UNCW had a walk, and then that was it. Well, sixth inning is where VCU opened the game up. They scored 3 runs, all of which were unearned based off a fielding error. So they had to pull Roop and put in Hodges instead, and he did a serviceable job. He got 2 outs right away to let UNCW get back in it. Well, UNCW comes to the bottom of the 6th, doesn't score, left a few men on base. And then 7th inning, nothing happened. Scoreless inning for both teams. 8th inning, same thing. But things didn't get interesting till the 9th. VCU blew it in the 9th. They really did. They had a chance to extend their lead in the top of the 9th and failed to do so. So the lead was still only 2. And the Cardiac Hawks did it again. They ended up walking it off. So how did that happen? Well, Mongero started off with a walk. Pitara struck out, so things were kind of looking grim, and Brooks Baldwin came up, and he was hitless on the night so far, but he was clutch in this at-bat. I thought he hit a home run. It was a line drive to left field and hit the wall. I thought it was going to be gone, but nonetheless, he hustled, and he got a triple out of it, and Mongero scored. Next at-bat, Kroom singled, Baldwin scored, tie game 4-4, and the Seahawks weren't done. Kroom advanced to second on a pass ball, and then Weiss was hit by a full count pitch, which put a man on first and second. And then Howell came in to pinch hit for Ronald Evans, and Howell walked. So the bases are loaded. I'm surprised VCU didn't pull their pitcher at this point because I guess they had confidence in the guy, and they let him go. But it was a mistake because it was a full count walk, and the Seahawks literally walked it off to win the game to start the season 1-0. The Seahawks then played a doubleheader on Sunday. The opening doubleheader was still a 9-inning game and was pitched by Luke Cassell, and he was lights out. Only gave up 1 run through 5 innings and struck out 4, and only gave up 3 hits. The dude was lights out from the get-go and looked great. Well, as far as scoring goes, top of the first, opening at-bat, Brooks Baldwin, 1-1 count, homers to right field. And he just picked up where he left off last night. He hit the wall in left field off the triple, and this time it gets over and right. So he starts off with a home run. And then later that inning, Kroom scored off a wild pitch. So Seahawks take an early 2-0 lead, and it stayed that way up until the 3rd inning, where Locklear tripled to right and Brown scored. And so it was 2-1 Seahawks, and VCU didn't score after that. And then bottom of the 3rd, Brandenburg tripled, Evans scored, and then Marsh out on a sac fly, and Brandenburg scored, and that was it. It was just a pitcher's duel from there on out. And UNCW's bullpen is able to hold VCU to 0 runs, whereas Giselle gave up that 1 run, and it was just a great all-around effort by that Seahawks bullpen. Next game, we got VCU and UNCW 30 minutes afterwards. And what happened in that game? Well, this one was more of an offense game compared to the last one. This one finished up with 14 runs combined, whereas the last one was only 5. So what happened in this one? Well, first inning, UNCW goes right back on top. Brandenburg reads on a dropped fly ball by the shortstop, and Kroom scored off of that. So unearned run for the Seahawks, but hey, I'll take any run that I can get. So top of first, 1-0 VCU. Bottom of the first. Then we go to the second inning. VCU Haydock singles to center field, and Erickson scored, and as well as Puglielli. And that's all VCU did for that inning. Now we go top of the third, and then Barnett homers on a drive to right center. So VCU goes up 3-1. Well, the Seahawks come back up in the third, and Thornburg singles. So Cole Weiss advances to third, and Kroom scores. Next at bat, Yip reaches on a fielder's choice. So Thornburg is out at second, but Cole Weiss scores because Matthew Yip reached. So Cole Weiss was able to score on that play. Then we go up to the fourth inning where Barnett doubled to right field, and Locklear and a miss scored for VCU. So we're at 5-3 VCU in the fourth. Then we go back down to the bottom of the fourth where Brooks Baldwin, what a weekend did this guy have. He doubled to right center and two scored, Mongero and Lifrieri. So it's 5-5. Then Cole Weiss comes up and reaches on a fielder's choice. So Kroom's out at second, and Baldwin scores, but Weiss reaches. Next, we go to the fifth inning where UNCW scores again. Mongero advanced to second on a wild pitch, and then a few other runners advanced as well. Mongero went to second. Lifrieri went to third, and Marsh scored on that wild pitch. And that was it for the Seahawks in that inning. Fast forward to the bottom of the eighth. Brandenburg singled on a ball to center field, and Kroom advanced to third on a fielding error, and Brooks Baldwin scored. So we end up with that game, a final score of 9-5 Seahawks to sweep VCU and to start out the season 3-0. So the Seahawks looked incredible this weekend. I thought they looked a little bit sluggish in the first game, but then they just opened it up in that ninth inning, and they just did not look back. The pitching that second game was fantastic, and then the offense really awoke in that third game. So who's my clutch player of the week? It's an easy answer. It's Brooks Baldwin. I mean, that dude was just on fire in every single clutch position you can have, especially in that first game, hitting that triple to only go down by one and then advancing himself to third base, ended up tying the game later. So he, by far, had the best weekend, in my opinion, for as far as clutch factors go. Not to say that anyone else did a bad job, because Kroom was also great, and then that Seahawk bullpen was just on fire for those last two games on Sunday. So let's look at the Seahawks stats over the weekend, starting with batting average. So our leader for the Seahawks so far through 3 games is Jack Kroom with an average of .417, followed by Tabor Mongero sitting at .375. Next is Cole Weiss at .364. In fourth, we have Brooks Baldwin at .333. And the fifth player with the highest batting average is a tie between Trevor Marsh and Ron Evans at .250. Our home run and RBI leader for the week is Brooks Baldwin with 1 home run and 4 RBIs. And the next player with the closest RBI total of 3 is Kip Brandenburg, the first baseman. No other Seahawk has a home run besides Baldwin. Now, looking at pitching, our bullpen has looked fantastic. Hunter Hodges, Gorham, Benton, Adam Smith, Bryce Cota, Cody Benton, all have an ERA of 0. That's just all the bullpen. The only player from the bullpen that has an ERA is Jason Hudak. Everyone else has an ERA of 0 that has appeared so far, which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you can't ask for a better job from the bullpen. It's incredible that these guys were able to hold VCU to 0 runs, and their whip has looked really good too. So whip is walks and hits plus the innings pitched. So in a whip below 1 is fantastic. So Hunter Hodges has a whip of 0. Braden Gorham has a whip of 1.29. Cole Britton has a whip of 1.5. Adam Smith has a whip of 0.6. Bryce Cota has a whip of 0.5. And Cody Benton has a whip of 0. These guys just did an absolute fantastic job against VCU. You just, again, as I said, you can't ask for a better job out of these guys. They held them to only just a few runs, and in most cases, 0 runs. So now let's talk about this weekend. So who do the Seahawks play? Well, Seahawks take on the WCU, Western Carolina University Catamounts. The Catamounts are a high offensive powered team. Let's look at their past 5 games. They played a 4-game series against Towson, our rival. Their first game, they won 23-1. Yeah, 23-1. In their first 2 games, Towson combined for only 6 runs, whereas the Catamounts combined for 38 runs in 2 games. That's absolutely ridiculous. And in their second game, they beat Towson 15-5, then 4-3, and then 4-1. And then their last game, they lost against UNC Asheville 4-10. So let's look at the Catamount stats. Their top player by far is Justice Bigby, who's hitting .471 in 17 at-bats. He has 8 hits, and in those 8 hits, he has 3 home runs and 12 RBIs. He's just been on fire, and he has a slugging percentage of 1.059. And he has 5 walks to his credit, too, to only 3 strikeouts. So he's going to be the player to watch for sure this weekend for the Catamounts. And how does UNCW handle that? Well, don't throw him any soft stuff over the plate. For any good hitter, you never want to do that. If you throw a curveball right down the middle, they have a chance to do some major damage. So breaking balls away in the dirt, or even just challenge him with the fastball. Just, hey, here's my best pitch. Try to hit it. Go up and in on the guy. Try to go outside corner. Try to mix it up a little bit. So pitching-wise, maybe do that against him and play to his weaknesses. If he pulls the ball, maybe pull a shift on him one time and pitch him inside. So we'll see how the Seahawks try to counter this high-powered offense. Now, as far as pitching goes, they have a stellar bullpen. Just like UNCW, they have over 5 guys with an ERA of 0. And most of their bullpen has a whip of 1 or lower. So the Catamounts are going to be a tough challenge. So we'll see how the Seahawks manage to handle this Catamount pitching. So if I were to create the game plan, jump on them early because their bullpen is stellar and their starting pitching is good, but not quite as good as the bullpen. So you got to jump on them early, get out to an early lead, and let our starting pitchers work, and then get into our bullpen and let them do their thing. Preferably no cardiac hawks this time. Jump on them early and try to get a save. So my prediction is I think the Seahawks are going to go 2-1. It would be very hard to sweep Western Carolina, but it's the game of baseball. Anything is possible. So we'll see what happens. I will be attending the games this week. Very excited. The first time really anybody is able to see the Seahawks play in person. So I'm very excited to see how this series will unfold. So now let's talk about basketball. Basketball finally returns. It's their first game since January 31st, and they're going to play Elon in Trask Saturday, February 27th at 6 p.m. So far, the Seahawks have had 10 postponements or cancellation this season. So that's basically half their schedule that has been postponed or canceled. And they haven't played a game since January 31st, as I've said. And they're on a 3-game losing streak. And the Seahawks have had a really tough time this year with COVID, the postponements, people leaving the school, injuries. It's been a very tough year for these Seahawks. Jalen Sims out for the season, our leading scorer. But the good news is that he'll be back next year. And also, Okaru has stepped up big time in his absence. Over the past 2 games, Okaru had 21 points against Hofstra on the 30th. And then in the last game the Seahawks played, Okaru almost had a triple-double with 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. So we'll see how these Seahawks will play against Elon. They only have 7 active people on their roster right now. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Coach Siddle wants to play against Elon. Is he going to keep playing to the run, defend, win style of Seahawks basketball that we've gotten accustomed to seeing over this season? Or is he going to kind of bring back the tempo to save his guys so they don't burn out immediately. So we'll see how that plays out. And Elon has kind of been streaky this year, for sure. They started out 3-0, then lost 6 in a row. 8 in a row. They lost 8 in a row, and then they've run 3 more in a row. So very streaky team. So how does UNCW stop Elon? Well, the person to watch for the Phoenix is going to be Hunter McIntosh. The guard is averaging 15.4 points per game. He is Elon's leading scorer, who also averaged about 2.8 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game, shooting 39.1% from the field. So not great there, but his 3-point percentage is almost identical, 37.7. So not a bad 3-point percentage. That's Elon's highest by far. So don't challenge him. Make him drive inside on you. Don't give him that 3 ball, because if any guy is going to make it on this team, it's going to be McIntosh. And don't put him on the free throw line either, because he's shooting 90.7% on free throws. So don't foul him either. He's going to be a very dangerous guard to guard. So I'd love to see Gadsden on him, or even a little bit of Toll-Free. One guy who's very fast, because McIntosh does have good speed and he can shoot. So if we can get the ball out of his hands and give it to the big men, then UNCW will be looking really good. But we do have to score. UNCW has been streaky as well, trying to score. But UNCW still averages about 75 points per game, which is good, but our defense can be suspect at times, where we give up way more than we should. So, but there is an X factor in this game. Fans will be returning to Trask Coliseum on Saturday night. Granted, only about 780 fans, but that's better than playing an empty stadium. So how will these players react to the crowd and react to the small a bit of noise that will be going on? It could affect the entire game, or these players, it may not affect them at all. So we'll see how that goes. My player to watch for this game is definitely Okaru. Is he going to continue the tear that he was on for the 2 games that he played right before all those games getting postponed because of COVID? So will he continue his streak? Will Gadsden step up as a senior? And will Harvey, as a freshman, continue to exceed expectations? Because he has been doing really good as a freshman. He's been the only freshman to play consistently. The only other freshman to play on the team has been Juwan Clark, who's only played a minute. And he's been away from the team for some time. So will Harvey continue to step up? And I think he will develop into a really good player. So he just needs to get those minutes and the confidence to be the player that he needs to be, because he has a ton of talent. He reminds me almost of a Gadsden type player, very crafty. So we'll see how he pans out. But if he steps up this game, the Seahawks could edge out Elon in this first game back since playing Hofstra on January 31st, which was almost a month ago. In other Seahawk news, the men's soccer team has reached number 18 nationally, right behind their rival James Madison. So that race in the CEA between James Madison and UNCW for soccer is going to be very fun to watch. And we may see another rematch from last year where JMU edged out UNCW in the conference championship. So good job to the men's Seahawks starting out 2-0. We'll see how they play for the rest of the season, but very exciting stuff coming out of the men's soccer team. Okay, that will do it for our first ever episode for TealCast. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.